brainiacs, you know, in the ivory tower. They should be able to disassemble the census information in such a way as to isolate how much is captured or within the confines of the state prison and how much is in, you know, the general population. I mean, that's what you need to be able to do to have, and they were not capable of doing that, and more importantly, they weren't interested. What was the guy's name that, if he's still there, I mean, that guy, as long as he's
Bill
staying.
Wickman?
No, not, Wickman he's with the QLG over in Quincy, he's okay. But if he's dealing with this guy at Chico State, if he's still on staff there, I think we'd be better off to stay the heck away from him.
Well, what, if I could, I don't know about that report, what the proposal from the Center for Economic Development is to simply organize a roundtable discussion of this issue. So maybe they would be better at that than they are.
Well, maybe that's where we should show up to make sure this guy doesn't write this other guy doesn't write the report, because if they rely on him, I can guarantee you the report's gonna be totally worthless.
As a side note, a few months ago, we were asked to participate in a survey of their professionalism and their competency, and that was the only thing I could really report as experience, so
Yeah.
hopefully they took that to heart.
Yeah, I was part of that survey too, and I don't think they liked my response.
Well, look, I'm open to the board's direction.
Well, I'm in favor of us having the discussion. I think working with Bill was part of the QLG organization structure, which is now kind of disbanded, and I think that would be worthwhile. But if it's relying upon this other outfit, Chico State, and I'm a Chico State grad, I have nothing but high regard for Chico State, and to me it's an embarrassment that they would have this one office doing what they do, and it really messes us up. It works against them. In fact, a few years ago, I think they made a presentation, and I think the board voted to have them not ever write another report for us until they got their facts straight.
They did the one on the wings.
Right.
Yeah.
Richard, what they're talking about here is the sponsoring part of the round table with estimated cost. Is that the total or per county?
That's the total cost,
To be shared by several counties?
whoever wants to sponsor.
So,
I can agendize the item for more discussion and get some more information about the cost.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Well, there's Georgia Nielsen, Warren Jensen, these are the people who he's the associate director, so they're purposely keeping that other guy off the page because he doesn't have to do that, so hopefully these people can be, yeah,
Could I ask a question, Jim, of you?
yeah.
This Warren Jensen, is that the Genesis? Is that the name of the company?
No, it just says he's associate director of research for, would be the Center for Economic Development at Chico State University, so this is would be probably an assistant professor or something that they have, because they have a kind of a think tank there that's supposed to be promoting economic development in the North State, working with all the counties. They come to Nortec, where we have our 11-county JPA for all the job training and business. There's a lot of interface with that, and he's made presentations of all the various counties. We get this nice colored, supposed to be a good marketing tool, and when we open it up, all of our stuff, the information, the thing is totally worthless. It might be good in other counties, but it's the advent of the prison, having the prisons here in Del Norte counties is as screwed up as ours is. They just don't understand that. And we haven't been able to convince them. They've been doing it for like 10, 12, 15 years now. It's been an ongoing complaint. Yeah, we're paying, they're wanting to be paid $1,400 for Jensen and $2,600 to this Georgia Nielsen, who's the event coordinator. I haven't had any dealings with them that would be adverse, but I mean, you're looking at 10 grand is the total cost, and being divided by how many parties?
Did I read that incorrectly? I thought it was 5,700.
That's what's on.
Well, they're expecting to get registration fees,
Oh,
$30 a person for 140
offsetting,
attendees.
yeah.
So there only is $5,700 left over. So
5,700 for net cost.
Yeah, they're planning on soaking $4,200 out of the attendees. So all of us are going, we're gonna have to cop up $30.
But, you know, the one thing that grabbed the attention of, you know, the coordination council and all the WIC mineral is that when I believe when the Fish and Wildlife came out with a document, and part of the language was said that their goal is to form a consensus on a set of socioeconomic factors that are important to forest communities and that Forest Service staff can consider for inclusion in a document on regional guidance for socioeconomic need analysis. This whole thing is about to get that language, force the Fish and Wildlife to, or the Forest Service to include that language in all of their needs. Yeah.
That needs to be put in.
Yeah, I mean, this is, we're kind of overlooking.
Who's gonna pay the $5,700?
They're asking for sponsors, and that's part of their request, is asking the county
I
to pay.
mean, it is a very worthwhile thing that's trying to be done here. We should-
I think so.
Yeah. I just have a little bit of concern about that Center for Economic Development in Chico State being involved, but there's a lot of other people involved here, so if those other guys turn out to be not good, they got their people to cover for them, I guess.
Yeah, we do need to treat this with some.
Because NEPA stands for National Environmental Protection Agency, and all NEPA stuff is all focused on environmental stuff. It never focuses on the socioeconomic, which is what kills us.
That's the point.
That's why there's no sawmills left in Modoc County, no sawmills left in Lassen County.
Yeah.
They're just drying up and dying.
So they only have 4 verbal commitments for funding, so they're looking, and we're not one of them, of course. So they're looking for, so they wanna divide up this $5,700 cost between whoever they can get to contribute to it. So how much of, I mean, if we add our 2 bits to it, that's now 5, so if you divide it in 5 ways, you're looking around $1,100 or $1,200. But if there's others that come on board, it could be less.
I think they're looking for a sponsorship, and as far as how much would the county be willing to participate, because maybe not everybody's got $1,000 to put in, or maybe some have more. So I don't think they're necessarily looking at just dividing it up equally.
Okay. So how much are they asking you to ask us?
They have this, the letter you have is all I have.
I would just say we should say, we also give them a verbal commitment where they're involved and try to get an amount, you know, something you think.
So if we came back and said we'd be willing to kick in $500, plus we're gonna have X number of attendees at $30 a pop, so.
Right, or perhaps we provide the venue, or, because I think they want to have it in Susan.
Well, they do it in Susanville, you use it like the Vets Hall, maybe we make the Vets Hall waive the fees on it and make that available to help.
And we do the
Or
materials like the-
Jensen Hall, or whichever.
How about like the material costs, their flyers, posters and things?
There's a budget in there,
I
most
know,
of,
well, I mean, could we cover that and move on, address sponsorship?
I can discuss it with them.
You know, I gave some suggestions to them on this that I never got a response. You see, like they have like $4,200 for
Staff time.
lunch or something.
And lunch and refreshments, they're planning on funding that out of the $30 registration fee.
But I mean, I said if they started it, you know, like an hour earlier, let it go until 1:30, then they don't even have to do lunch. But, I gave them some ideas how to trim some money out here because they said they didn't get any.
I'm really glad Larry's in charge of the party.
But, you know, why spend $4,000 everybody for lunch? Have the meeting, then break, and then everybody can get their own lunch.
You'll have a better attendance if you provide some food with the thing, I guarantee you.
And they're probably expecting a lot of people from out of the area.
Yeah, there will be a lot out of there, because they're looking at 5 different counties.
Well, you can't have everything, you know, if you want to provide lunch, and the event's gonna cost $10,000, so.
Actually, there's 7 counties that they're targeting into a portion of 7 counties.
So is that good, Richard?
Yep, I'll bring it back.
All right, then, all right, we were talking about I-5. Do we have anything more on that? We can kind of jump back to I-4.
That's just a
Receive
receipt.
information.
Did you ask for any public input on that board?
three speaker cards on that board. If there's anybody that wants to give input, feel free. So, let's move on for information from the board.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, a couple things. November 18th, we have a meeting scheduled. November 18th is also the CSAC conference where they have a new supervisor institute, and I'm expecting that, we've notified both members of both remaining candidates that they may want to keep that date open because they've got that institute. I wasn't sure if any of the board was planning on attending that. I would like to attend the CSAC meeting.
I was planning on attending as the director.
So I'd like the board to consider moving that meeting or canceling it if appropriate, because that is on Tuesday when that begins. So I'll bring back an item. I just wanted to mention that to you.
Would you gonna try to make it to that, Tom?
What's that?
Would you gonna try to make it to that?
I'm not sure.
It would be a good one, because that's where you can also get some,
I probably should
get some of those trainings that you
Yes,
need to
and
have.
it's a three-step deal, they got the one in November, then it's
When it-
January,
January,
and March,
February,
April,
yeah.
somewhere there. It's kind of a three-step
The next
process.
The next thing, LaMalfa's staff convened a meeting last week with the Rancheria, myself, and some others regarding the Rancheria's desire to acquire some BLM land up near the college.
East of Highway 139.
Actually, on both sides of the
Well,
highway.
they've already got most of it on the west side, but they want to go on the east side now.
And so more to come on that. I think the city may have some input on that as it pertains to providing further competition for, potential businesses.
Yeah, our question is what do they want to do up there?
Well, Stacy Dixon, when he broached me with it, it's been a couple months ago now, one of the things they want to look at developing is like a youth recreation center with, like gymnasiums and more than just like, having parks with ball fields or something. And that's something that they have as a high priority. They're not interested in using it for gaming purposes,
Okay.
no. He made it real clear. That was a question I told him, that community would be one of the first things they probably would raise. They're happy with their location for their gaming operation. So, but he's looking at more like would be like a community recreation center targeting primarily for the youth. They have a lot of their own kids, but they have a lot of kids from town that go up and utilize, right now they're utilizing the gymnasium on the old part of the Rancheria, and I guess it's like way over the capacity. And they have a lot of just regular kids in town that go up there and are part of their program, so they're very excited about what they've been able to accomplish, and they just feel like what they'd like to do is more or less relocate it from the old, and then that opens up the old stuff to be reutilized for other stuff they need for their, like health clinics and stuff like that.
Got it.
The next thing, we had some discussion about the agenda and different departments having to wait around. The reason that the agenda is the way it is currently is because that's how it's prescribed in the board procedures that have been adopted. We're reviewing those and revising them, hopefully, and they'll of course have to come back to the board for approval, but a couple of things we'd like to do is try to segregate those department-specific items.
Can I make a suggestion? Is we have those like time certains and public hearings like in that 10 to 10:30 time frame. And like today, the one was set for basically a 15-minute window. And if, we come out of closed session, sometimes the closed session runs over. But is that we look at maybe like between 10 and 11 o'clock is use the routine departmental stuff, get that done, and then do the public hearing stuff like maybe from 11 to 12, or make it like at 1 o'clock and we take care of the morning to do the routine departmental stuff, so you don't have, one of them all of a sudden takes like 2 hours, which obviously the issue required the discussion, we can't change that. But not have that right in the middle of a routine business, and segregate it that way. So if we're gonna have a workshop or a public, just a study session or those kind of things, is make them at a time other than, and do like your departmental matters so you can get through those relatively fast.
And then another thing we would like to seek to revise is we allow the closed sessions to begin earlier in those weeks where we know we've got many items. We could potentially begin at 8 or 8:30 rather than 9. The last thing I have is
The one coming from county shaking his head
I,
now. You can leave at
Well, he
3.
told the highway patrol guy yesterday at the transportation meeting that it doesn't take him very long to come down 139 at all.
In the wintertime, it does.
I too enjoyed the meeting at Washoe County. It's always nice to see how people do things. I visited with the CAO a little bit there, and those of us that were there got to see the gentleman that's solely responsible for saving Burning Man. But apparently we missed it. Normally when he comes and comes to the board meeting under public comment, he brings his guitar and sings for his 3 minutes. So we missed that. Maybe next time.
How many times?
Then they get the big clocks.
And the other thing,
And it's off key.
He also mentioned that their equivalent, Nevada's equivalent of CSAC or RCRC, held their board meeting at Bruno's a couple days before the board meeting, which happened to coincide with Burning Man. So I might make that as a suggestion for maybe one of our meetings next summer, is that we go out towards the east end of the county.
To the country club?
Did you notice that the CAO ran the meeting and not the chairman of the board?
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yes.
No,
No, you didn't?
that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. So I think that concludes business.
But before you do, can I ask, make a request for adding something on a future agenda item, and it doesn't?
No, it's too late.
Well, it came up when we got into the water discussion, and I'd like to, I attended the city council meeting last week and, or 2 weeks ago, and they had a big discussion dealing with the governor's order, his declaration, and then the State Water Resources Control Board passed a bunch of regulations on July 29th, which are now being implemented by, because at lunchtime with the RCRC folks that were here that were passing through, we got into discussion with a couple of the lower staff guys, where you guys were talking to the Pumas, that big guy. But anyway, it's a mandatory implementation, stage 2 across the board without exception. And even if you have a community in which your water resources aren't impacted right now by the drought, there are exceptions to the rule. And so we're facing a situation here in town, because if the city was told by city staff that if they didn't do what the state unelected bureaucracy was dictating to them to do, there's no recourse, and they could be fined $10,000 a day. So they normally use the wells to augment the springs here in town from about May through September. That's in historic, that has gone on for years because of the growth of the city over the last 30, 40 years. Interesting enough, the meeting before that, when the Public Works Director gave a report on the water system, they did not utilize the wells at all during the month of August here in Susanville. The springs have produced more than enough water necessary for, I'm not saying that we go out and tell people that, we don't have a water shortage. People have been very conservative, and they've been conserving water to the point where we don't even need to use the wells. So they got, the tanks are full, they're overflowing, and they're being told that basically we have to implement, and that they're in the process of communicating that to the city residents through the regular billing process, a 25% reduction. So as an example, a 25% reduction, if you mandate that across the board to businesses, does that mean Eric over here at Lassen Ale Works, does he have to produce 25% less beer? Because his product is totally dependent upon water. And the reason why he located it, or at least what he shared with me in the past, is that we've got dependable water source. It's good quality water, clean water, tastes good, and it makes great beer. And some communities, maybe they might have good springs, but they only last for a few months out of the year, so it's not dependable year-round. And of course, the city staff's concerned because if they have to cut back on the amount of water that can be used, their revenue that they receive to pay for their budget and operating stuff is now, does that mean that we have a 25% reduction in their budget, which means people getting laid off, services being cut back, and you, or if that doesn't work, if you keep 100% of the budget, it means you gotta raise your rates, so the 75% of the water that is used is now gonna have to be paid for at a higher rate to sustain the budget. So you're gonna do all this at the same time when the tanks are like full of water, and so I think it would be nice to have an agenda item in which, because it's, and then you got people outside of the city.
To do what though? The agenda item for what purpose?
The purpose is to discuss the state mandate for the 25% reduction. Right now, stage 2, not only is it affects the city of Susanville,
Is
but
it
more
applicable to the
importantly,
county?
throughout the county, because you have, I had a call from one of Tom's constituents who lived out there in that residential development there by Johnsonville School. No, I guess he's Larry's constituent. And he got a notice tacked on his door by the operator of that little water system. The guy went around door to door telling him that, you know, that we have to do this whether we have no water or not. Now,
We'll find out.
Bogart, the rest station there, the spring that feeds that basically dried up. Now, what we learned yesterday from Caltrans, the district director, I'm just giving you the idea of the issues that we need to be talking about. He said the reason why there was no water at Bogart wasn't because it dried up, but because it got used by the firefighters. So across the board, there's all kinds of exceptions to the rule, so this one size fits all. Just because somewhere in the state of California, there is a serious situation where stage 2, and if it gets worse, it could be stage 4, and you're looking at a 40% cut, even though you may have all the water in the world to deal with. So I want to see if that could be put on an agenda sometime in the next month. Not right, yeah, in 2-3 weeks would be easy, so.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right.
How do you go back and
So-
write something I don't have a slide as clear?
No, I have a meeting at 5:30 and 6.